what is going on is that produced value is evaporating. So what happens is that human type preference rises, and it affects everything around us. People spend more money. They take up lines of credit. They go into debt just to be able to afford food in the supermarket, especially in the United States. Ever since residential and commercial banking emerged in the United States, things went downhill. People started being exploited for fees more than making money for the people based on their own their own deposit inside banks. And this is like the world just kind of turned upside down over time. And since inflation kind of destroys produced and stored wealth over time, we're now seeing the total destruction of society, even in certain countries, especially in the US. Japan is even more worse because it's a totally conservative society based on very, very clear morals and norms and philosophies that kind of govern the entire social structure of the country. So we see about more than 7 million people suffering from hikikomori in the country, severe social withdrawal that we're having, isolation, that they're having. They don't go out from their house, they don't talk to people, they don't do anything. They just stay at home, chat online, and they don't even have a future. Because, when we steal from society the ability to save money, what happens is that they lose the concept of the future. And when you lose the concept of the future, you're unable to see a way for you ahead to get out of the hamster wheel. And when that happens, it's just game over for you. You start getting depressed. You go to the doctor. They give you 1,000 type of medication because they don't understand how to treat this type of situation, because they need to get you out of that situation, and you cannot see the future anymore for yourself. And that's impossible. In Japan, there's divorces are going up, no marriages, people not having children. It's completely affecting society. In the West, it's even more worse. The same things are visible there, but more in the education system, that people are, distancing themselves from capitalism because they think that, because usually it's not a bad thing that the universities liberalizes the thinking, but the effect is that when time preference rises, communism comes into the picture, that you get pushed away from the norms of classical liberalism, and you push towards more the neoliberalistic ideology for communism, that you reject capitalism and you want something where everywhere collectivism is a rule of law, and this is a really bad thing. Europe is more lacking. It's a bit different here, but I'm still looking into like what are the absolutely clear distinctive effects of this thing. But so far there's something like a mixed match of American and Japanese thing that are happening here without these things, basically. It's like you have one bank that is issuing money because if you put your deposit into the bank and they issue it as a loan. So like you have a bank that could fail any time, and you have your deposit that the bank gave out as a loan to somebody else. The bank could fail any time and your savings is gone because the institution shut down. But here comes the government with FDIC in the United States, or here the OBA stuff in Hungary or in the European Union, like for 100,000 euros, your saving is saved. So there comes the central bank and says, okay, we're going to save this money. But what if I have 200,000 euros in one bank? I'm still going to lose half of that money because that money is not mine, it's the bank now. So, this is the problem with central identities, is that they're usually failing. They're not trustable, as also Satoshi said. And with Bitcoin, we can completely eliminate this problem, because now we also remove the state's ability to issue currency. So we remove the basic pillar statehood, the issuance of currency. We separated state and money. And now the people is managing money through consensus. And basically, so the free market decides here, through the human consensus, that what is going to be the currency, and there can be only one, because Bitcoin is a civilizational technology, more kind of like farming was, or the wheel or something like that. It is this big. You cannot copy Bitcoin or try to replicate it in a form that something could be changed on it. That could be only done if somehow Bitcoin would fail in the future, and then you need to go through this very, very rocky path of having competition, and there could be only one. But since we are defending Bitcoin, and there are many, many people here who defend Bitcoin, even at this conference, who are organizing to defend Bitcoin, that's what basically people are here for, everything is going to be fine. As long as people are ready to defend Bitcoin with their lives, everything is going to be fine. Yeah. Individuals research how to make the network secure because they want to defend their money. It's like, property, it's the protection of private property. They need to run their own nodes and maybe run their own miners also now, if we're talking about home mining. It's like, owning a gun to protect your house, your family, and your valuables and your money and your Bitcoin. So it's kind of like that. Individuals learn about these things and they start running those. I also run a node at home. I make sure that my money is secure. I don't really run a miner because I don't have any space to run it at. But it's people learning about it, and this is the beauty of Bitcoin, that anybody can do whatever the hell they want. When you start learning about hard money, you kind of realize that the whole system is a lie. Then you start looking for answers, like, what is the truth? What is the truth? And you have to go and search for your own truth, because you cannot get it from the government. They're not going to give you the information.
Yeah.
They're just going to hide it from you because they don't want you to get out of the system. Because lots of people out there who manage to get out of the system, and they living the cantineer life. But after you get into Bitcoin, you want to automatically start learning more and more about it. And if you're not in possession of the truth, you will start looking for it. This is why I think have to go with the self-educational pathway is the best option for Bitcoiners. And I think everybody just feeling like they need to know more. Knowledge is what is lacking, and they try to fill the void that they feel is with a whole lie during their lifetime. I also did this myself. I had to do my master's thesis to figure out whether or not Bitcoin is real or not. I went through the whole process of learning myself to see what's wrong with the system, and then going step by step of what is really going on and what Bitcoin does and how people fix it with Bitcoin. And it's beautiful. So Bitcoin reintroduces the aspect of saving. So it lowers time preference. Others will, of course, argue that it is like the interest that comes back over having the ability to give out loans, but it's debatable because since you have more savings, you can afford more stuff in the future. Even today, people don't have money to afford immediate emergencies. Situations to pay for, like in the US, pay healthcare bills or something. But when people start having again the concept of savings and more, they start building generational wealth, then over time they will see that they have a much more stable future and present. That they not just look at the present status of themselves, but the future, that they are really good. And this kind of stabilizes the social norms and reintroduces the whole stability into society. Because right now, what is going on in the society, since social effects are basically affecting everybody. So if you're in a given environment, you can inherit behaviors and statuses from other members of society around you without you even knowing about it. It's like going into school where lots of students are earning really bad grades. When you're a good student, your grades are going to automatically go down. And if you go to a better school, your grades are only going to go back up because the status effect is kind of inherent over there. So the same thing is happening to society. If we, lower time preference and fix the saving into society and make people, be more productive over time, and their savings don't evaporate because of monetary nationalism, then we can fix the whole system basically. So there will always be poverty that is not possible to eliminate, in my opinion, even in a utopistic society. But people who start working and finding their ways how to invent themselves in the world, they will, get up from zero, highly likely. And it really, this is the point, is that, there are always winners and losers, and we need to just, let the world's natural play just play out and let things go by their own flow. And let's just see that individuals find themselves in the world and let them organize. Let them create their own prospect for the future, their own businesses, their own enterprise, their own inventions and things that they need to do to be able to get around in the world, in my opinion. And if you fail, then you need to try again. Yeah. But if you ultimately fail and you did some really high risk thing that you got really wrecked and you're unable to get out of it, I think that is only your fault that you got there. Highly likely. It's all about the banking. People in African countries are completely unbanked. Certain African countries don't even interact with each other. You're unable to send transactions from A to B. You have, the phone money, I don't know what the hell it's called, but whatever. Those are not interoperable. It's not like hard cash. But Bitcoin is like cash. You can send it peer-to-peer, and there's no government to tell you cannot send it. No. It's completely different.
Yeah.
And this is really what is helping African countries, because it reintroduces this easy way of doing commerce in these countries, that you can now do, trade with Annabelle's little stand, or wherever she's selling the goods that she's selling, or anybody else who's doing some stuff.
Yeah.
They can now, very easily accept cash, Bitcoin, or anything from local currency, and it keeps the economy going and their business flowing. And this is what, keeps money even for their families and for themselves to keep eating. Because, you gotta eat. We don't even know whether or not cash transactions are often private. Mostly it is private in individual settings when you're exchanging cash in person. But if you go into like a big supermarket, especially in Hungary where the ATMs are tied into the national treasury system, when you pay the cash, there's probably a camera recording you that, when you're doing the payment. So is cash entirely private? Likely not all the time, but in a normal sense, it is private and fungible. What means that fungibility is also important because when you're paying with money, it's important that the cashier accepts your money so that each and every banknote is basically equal. That is saying that 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. It is just a perception of human thinking that it is not equal, basically. But back to privacy, that that when you allow third parties and other entities to keep spying on you, what happens is that they start building profiles of you. They start observing your movements, and they start targeting with advertisements. They sell your data later. They do all kinds of shady things like Facebook does, data mining your contacts, pulling information that you don't even know that they're pulling, and then they build all these massive databases that can leak out later. And when these trusted third parties basically they lose all your data, you're completely wrecked because all your information is out in the open, and people are just selling it on the darknet. And this is why, privacy is also important for me. Bitcoin is a completely individualistic environment where you need to become self-sovereign, building your own citadel. A citadel is about, personal sovereignty, financial sovereignty, is that you're now your own ruler, that you are in control of your finances. And what you can do is that basically you are able to do whatever the hell you want with your money. And this is why privacy is so important for myself, because I know that the government is omnipotent, but since there are individuals who you could be like threatening me or doing something that I cannot protect against because I'm just a private individual. Government might know who I am, but I cannot know who is a private individual might be. That's why I have this, what I would say like more like persona, more like like a brand image that I have. I go to conference and people can recognize me, but when I take this off, nobody recognizes me. Only those recognize me who is in my trusted circles, basically. And this is the beauty of it. When you are private, people who know who you are, they will recognize you. But people who don't know who you are, people like here at the conference, like, are you Gigi? Are you Gigi? Are you Gigi? They were like asking like 7 times, like, are you there, Gigi? I'm like, oh no, I just gave him my mask, like, because Gigi got rugged at the airport and he didn't have his stuff coming in, so I gave him a mask. Like, yeah, here, have one. And then he was using it and some different glasses and hat, and he had a green hoodie. I'm like, well, okay, I'm in total black, but basically, this is my, when people kind of mentioning me that, my OPSEC is shitty because I'm at privacy 1. But I'm like, there's Gigi and there's some other guy that's already 3. So, it's improving, you see. But, it's just, I know these are jokes, but I take, privacy pretty seriously. Yeah. That's why also I do stuff at Wasabi. And, I think that's the way forward with privacy. Every Bitcoiner should really try out putting a mask on and interacting with individuals. They're going to become much more open, approachable, much more honest, in my opinion. And this is what really matters, that when you have a mask on, you don't have to be afraid of judgment and people seeing you in a different way. And this is really important, in my opinion, to be able to form better and enhance relationships. Because I study the interrelationships of Bitcoiners and trust, how it kind of forms, and this is a really important part of it. You need to maintain your character, you need to maintain your status, you need to maintain your reputation. You need to guard these things with your life. That what you do, what you do in society. If you mess up at just one point, you step on a reputational landmine, you're done forever.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard to restart when people know your face and things like that when you're out in the open. And it's even more harder for people completely anonymous, because anonymous people have really limited leeway of what they can do. Because anonymous people don't even take their mask off like I do at home. Or when I go out and eat somewhere. Because then they are just, they're gone. People who are pseudonymous and they're NIM, it's much better world among NIMs, in my opinion. And you delete a different set of signatures just to